Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. This is a Research with Me video, and I've been working on the Essary family descendants. In the previous video, I worked on Willie C Essary, and we learned some things about him. And in this video, we're going to look at his wives and make sure everything's good there. But before we jump into his wives, I just have some follow-up work on Willie. So this is an important lesson. As I was going through and attaching records to Willie on my ancestry tree, I looked again at the 1910 US Census, and Effalona said that she had 4 children, 1 living. So they had 3 children that didn't live. So let's just jump over to this census here so you can see. Okay. So they were married 15 years. It's a first marriage. Sometimes on the 1910 census, you may see an M with a 1. That was not a rule that they were supposed to follow when they were doing their enumeration, but some enumerators did do it, and so that can give you a clue. So first marriage, married 15 years, and they had 4 children, 1 living. So that means there are 2 more children that we didn't know about previously. And so I did add them to the family group. I haven't done it on my ancestry tree yet, but I did do it on Family Search. So let's go take a look there. All right, so you can see here it says possible duplicate child. The 2 additional children that we don't know about, they were born and died sometime between the 1900 and 1910 census. And so I did something similar to what I did previously with the first child that was born between 1896 and 1900. And I added notes and everything and put information about that we know from the records on these children. When you see situations like this, it just pulls at your heartstring. You just feel for the family. Willie experienced a lot of loss along with his wife in those 15 years of marriage. Anyway, we wanted to account for all of those children, and they're here. We don't know their names. I did do a search and find a grave to see if there were any children buried next to Effalona, and there wasn't. So they may be named in a family Bible if there's one that exists, or there could be a newspaper mention. These children died before Alabama really started having compliance in death certificates or birth certificates. And so we may not know any more than this about these children. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to scroll back up here. You can see this says that there's a possible duplicate child because we had 2 children that were born between those census years. And when people see this error, they may assume that there is really truly an error, and we know that there's not because we know these were children born during that time based on records. We can dismiss these research notes so that they don't cause any undue concern. So to do that, we're just going to click on their names and then click on dismiss, and then we'll write an explanation. Okay, so we're going to move on to Willie's wives, and we'll start with Effalona Hager. Her profile is pretty well filled out on Family Search, but we'll just jump over and take a look and see if there's anything that we need to do. And right off the bat, you can see that we have a possible duplicate. So let's take a look at that here in just a second. One thing I want to look at is to see what her parents' names are in the census. So she would have been a 1-year-old child in 1880, and someone's already attached that to her profile. So let's take a look. So it looks like her father is Manly Hager, and her mother is Melissa, and she's got a sister. So we'll want to check to make sure she's connected to the right parents. And let's go ahead and click through and do this merge. Okay, so this is the new merge experience on Family Search. It is still in beta, so if you've not seen this before, you have to turn this on in order to see it. You can see here it's part of the lab experiments. It works the same for the most part. You can see here the duplicate person, the surviving person, and you can select the facts that you want to keep. and then you'll see the merged person on the right. So we'll just look through here and see if there's anything we need to worry about. Okay, so here's Emmanuel or Manley Hager and then Melissa Stockton. Okay, and then all of the sources. And it looks like the duplicate did not have really all that much information. So let's go ahead and just hit merge and we'll just clean that up. And the new merge experience, if there's no obvious differences, then Family Search fills in this reason statement, and you can, of course, add your own reason statement. If there are differences where there's significant differences in a vital date or something like that, then this will be blank, and the implication is that you should fill out and explain why you're still going to merge these two profiles together. Okay, we'll hit submit. All right, so Effalona has a high quality score. That just means the indexed records match the information that's on her profile. And for the most part, I think we're probably all right. We've got all the census records she would be in. It looks like we probably have her death certificate here. So if we wanted, we could go to a Family Search Center and look at it and see what the cause of death is. We can see here we've got parents' names. It looks like maybe her father remarried because that's a different name than we had in the census, which does happen. You know, when someone dies, it's a family member that reports the information that's on the death certificate. And so you always have to look and see who the informant is and whether they would have known anything. So we can look and see if he remarried. Yeah, because her mother died in 1894, so I bet he remarried. Let's look. This, yeah, he remarried a couple of times. So here's a second wife, Eunice, and then a third wife, Harriet. Oh, and there's a fourth wife, Tabitha Bren. So it looks like there's some work that needs to be done there, but there was multiple relationships, and so seeing that name on the death certificate is not to be unexpected. All right, let's go back. And we'll scroll down and okay, so there's her siblings and she's attached to her parents. So it looks pretty good. I think we'll just accept it for what it is. And then we'll go and look at Willie's second wife, Vera Phillips. So let's go look at her profile. And I think I noted previously that we didn't know who her parents were. She was born in 1888, supposedly in Texas, and then died on the 3rd of July. We'll need to look at the sources. There's 9 there. And okay, so she was married previously to Newton Edward Key. So some records could have her with the last name of Key. And then she married Willie. So let's see, Newton died in 1925. Willie's first wife died in 1924, and then they married about 1926. So they probably had a blended family for a bit. So let's look at the birth record here. Let's see, what do we have? So we don't have a 1900 census for Vera. So she could be in Texas. She could be in Alabama. So we'd need to look in both places to see if we can't find that. And then we've got the Social Security Death Index, which has her birth date. It says 16th of June. So let's just double check. Birth date, 16th of June. Okay, let's look. Let's see, there's a Find a Grave memorial. That's not attached. So let's look there. Sometimes we can get clues about parents at Find a Grave. That says 6th of June, not 16th of June. So maybe there's a headstone or something that we could look at. 6th of June. We've got a spouse and children. And that's it. We don't have parents. So that's where the birth date probably came from. Let's see if we can see the headstone a little better. definitely says June 6th. Let's close that. We'll go back. So then the question becomes, do we update this to June 6th or leave it as June 16th? And I think in this case, I'm inclined to leave it on the 6th, even though Social Security says 16th. I don't know. You know, there are mistakes in Social Security records, although because it was a government record, you would think it would be a little bit more reliable than a headstone, which is known to also have mistakes. And so, all right, so let's just think about that for a minute. And let's look at this. Okay, Social Security death index. All right, so last place of residence does not imply place of death. So we can't really replace the United States here. Let's see what this says. Nothing. Okay. She died in 1984. If someone wanted to, they could request the death certificate. I think because of when she died, you would need to be a relative in order to request that. So after so many years, those become public record and anybody can look at them. And so we may just have to wait a bit for that. But all right, so we'll just leave that for right now. Let's jump over to Ancestry and see if we can't make some progress there. Okay, we've got 2 record hints. So let's take a look. Okay, so we got Vera Key and Newton Key. So that would be her first marriage. And let's just go look at that. I think that the birth location in Texas is from a later census record. And so the 1910 would be earlier. And it says Alabama there. So I'm wondering if she's really born in Alabama. Okay, Newton Key. They've been married 6 years. She has 3 children, 3 living. She's born in Alabama. Her parents are born in Alabama. Okay, let's go ahead and say yes, and we'll attach the records, and I'll attach the next one and maybe just speed through. And so stay tuned and we'll come back. Okay, I'm back. And so I looked through all of these census records here, and they all say she was born in Alabama. So I'm not sure. I've got to review and see where the Texas birth location comes from, because I think everything says Alabama. The 1930 census says Texas. There we go. Yep, it says Texas. And it says father's birthplace and mother's birthplace is Texas. So there has to be an explanation for that, but all the other records say Alabama. So I'm going to go ahead and update this to Alabama. Okay, so my goal is to see if we can't find her biological family. So let's see if we can't do some searching and see if we can't find maybe some public member trees or some other records that might have her parents' names. Now she should be in the 1900 census. Let's see, when did she marry Newton? She would have to be in Alabama to marry Newton. Oh, that says Texas. She was married in Texas. Now, how did they know that? Let's come back over here. About 1903. That must be based off of the 1910 census. So, married 6 years, so about 1904. Okay, so that census says she was married for about 6 years, so that would mean 1904 or about 1904. And this must say about 1903 because this child was born in 1904. She was born in September. She could have been married in January of 1904 or maybe December. So, that would be about right. Where was he born? He was born in Texas. Okay, so they may have been married in Texas and she may have been living in Texas. I wonder why she said. So I'm curious to see if she was actually born in Texas. All right, so I'm going to come back here to Ancestry and let's repeat the searches that we've done already. And I want to look for the 1900 census because she should be in there. And so we could narrow down the results. So let's come over here to the filters and let's do 1900. Okay, here's some censuses. And we want Texas if possible. Here is Vera Phillips, born October 1891. So that's not her because she's born in 1887. Here's a Maddie V. Phillips, granddaughter. That's definitely a possibility. We've got a Jenny A. Fisher. Let's kind of make a mental note on that one. So this is the Maddie V. Phillips, who's a granddaughter. Mother's name is Sarah. Okay, so Sarah had a Maddie, a Fanny, and an Edgar Phillips. And Sarah is the daughter of Joshua Fisher. So the mother's name would be Sarah Fisher, and she's probably a widow. She's living with her parents. Let's see here. Let's look. Yeah, widowed. Mother of three living, born June 1865. In Texas. And this would say that the Maddie V is born in Texas, June 1888. And that could be wrong. It could be 1887. Or maybe the date that was recorded later was wrong. But that. All right. So our goal is to identify Vera's parents and get her connected to them in Family Search and on my ancestry tree. However, there is some additional work that definitely needs to be done, and I think we found a potential candidate that needs a bit more research. And I think one thing that could be done for future research is to look for a marriage record in Texas between Newton Key and Vera Phillips, because that could identify her parents. And so we'll need to look at that. And we're running out of time in this video. And I'm going to look around and see if I can find a marriage record for Newton Key and Vera Phillips. And if I do, it will definitely be in my blog article. And I'll update Family Search and my ancestry tree and maybe show you in the next video. But most likely we'll be moving on to somebody new, and it will probably be Willie's sibling. So let's just take a look and see who that might be. So we've looked at Sarah, Willie, Maddie. So the next one would be Sevilla or Villa Essary. And so we'll take a look at her in the next video. I hope that was helpful. Sometimes you can't find an answer right away and you just do the best you can. With research like this, we'll just make notes on future research possibilities, and I may make some notes for Vera on a potential parent candidate. So until next time, we'll see you later.